Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Real History Short. I am your host, Jared Frederick, and once more we are separating fact from fiction, history, and Hollywood. And a lot of our viewers have been wondering, when are we going to do a Western? And that is a great question because there are so many great Westerns to take a look at from a historical perspective. But as we are experimenting with short videos here on our channel, we couldn't think of a better singular moment in the canon of Western films than the gunfight at OK Corral as featured in the 1993 film Tombstone. This is a much beloved film that is full of fantastic one-liners and a wonderful all-star cast, and we thought that is the perfect place to start. So, what we hope to be doing in this video is breaking down the gunfight at OK Corral at 4th and Fremont in downtown Tombstone. Let's go ahead and take a look. So, we are here now on October 26, 1881, and in short, the tensions between the Earps, the Clantons, and McLauries have been ongoing for 2 years. And really what it is more than anything else is that it's a power struggle. I don't think there were any buildings burning in Tombstone at the time here, but it looks like the Earps and Doc Holliday are coming out of hell, and hell's coming with them, as a later line in the movie might suggest. Although, just a few months after the gunfight at OK Corral, a significant portion of Tombstone did burn, including the OK Corral, and only the sign was left. And so this was a building that would not be around much longer. One other thing that's worth mentioning, too, is that the gunfight itself did not take place at the OK Corral. It took place essentially in a 15-foot area, a vacant lot, an extended alley, if you will, that was adjacent to the corral. And so earlier films in Hollywood history, including Gunfight at the OK Corral from 1957 with Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas, really gave a wrong view of all of that. And that's a really, really inaccurate movie.
Frank? Hit the dirt!
Goddamn kid. How the hell we get ourselves into this?
You don't have to worry about a thing. I just went over there and disarmed.
You did? Come on, go, Rich.
Gentlemen, I'm not gonna allow any trouble.
And the gentleman who we see here approaching right now is Chief Behan. And this was a real-life individual. And in this film, as well as a movie that comes out the year after this, Sheriff Behan is depicted in this somewhat corrupt manner, like he's really in cahoots with the cowboys. And I'm not sure if there's necessarily any historical evidence to back that up to a great extent. But in many cinematic interpretations, he's depicted as a pawn in these bigger games of corruption or power grabbing. And indeed, this feud between the Earps, the Clantons, and the McLauries, it was a power struggle. Tombstone was this silver mining boom town. The cowboys owned some land and some ranching territory on the outskirts of the community. The Earps had their hand on matters within the town itself, and it was perhaps inevitable that these two forces were going to be butting heads, especially when you have the likes of a drunk dentist like Doc Holliday throwing his hat in the ring here as well. Here's Fly's photography gallery, which was in fact located right next door. The so-called cowboys purportedly had been having a good time on the town. They very well may have had some hangovers. And here we see Sam Elliott showing up on the scene, and he's Virgil Earp, and he's really the leader here. And as guns are being drawn, Doc Holliday cocks both barrels of his shotgun, and that is in many ways there's no turning back after that. Its intent is very, very clear from that point. Wyatt Earp had put his pistol in his pocket, a 10-inch barrel in his pocket, and that's what allows him to draw first. And the tension here is so good. And you get a sense of Doc Holliday's grim playfulness as well.
Oh my God.
And as the guns are being drawn, the question is who drew their guns first? And we may never really know, and it may never really matter. But looking at the space, it's a much bigger space than what it was in actuality. Like I said, it was only about 15 feet wide, and this is perhaps triple that, what we see right here. Ike Clanton does come up to Wyatt Earp amidst the frenzy, and he says that, "I'm unarmed, don't shoot." He walks right up to Earp, and Earp has perhaps a little bit of chivalry to say, either get a gun and join the fight, or get out of the way. And Clanton very, very quickly dodges out of the situation and hightails it down the street. Not to be seen again in this confrontation, unlike what this movie might suggest. One of the eyewitnesses said that Wyatt Earp was just completely still amidst it all, and perhaps that's the reason why he was able to avoid gunfire. It seems to go against common logic. That's what one eyewitness claimed. And there were perhaps 30, 40 eyewitnesses who saw some part of all of this, and it seems that over time each person seasoned their own rendition. The part with Doc Holliday here shooting at Ike Clanton, going at it with double pistols, that simply did not happen. That's a bit of Hollywood. Ike Clanton did not engage in the fight at all, especially in this very cowardly way, like we see here.
I got you now, you son of a bitch.
You're a daisy if you do.
And purportedly, this was actually said, "You're a daisy if you do," but perhaps that, like so many other things, are up to speculation. One of the really great aspects of all this, despite all of the bloodshed and the rather horrific flavor of it all, is that it captures the tenseness and the animosity in such a really good way. And there are a lot of little things that are wrong here. One of which is that practically everybody's too old, and that's also a common case with war movies that we see here as well. Everybody at the OK Corral and this gunfight from 1881, pretty much between the ages of 18 and 32, roughly speaking. And so suffice it to say, Kurt Russell's a little bit older than that. Sam Elliott is perhaps a good 10 years older than that when this movie was made. But the really tight script, the good cinematography, the choreography of how all of this plays out is why this is such an iconic scene from the genre of westerns.
Virgil!
The real gunfight was probably a little bit shorter as well, in a matter of about 30 seconds or so. All of the bullets had been fired. the fight was over, and a very vibrant process of popular culture and myth making would ensure that this would be a gunfight, a duel for the books. And that's why this little old silver mining town in Arizona still exists today, is because people want to see where this took place. One thing that I think is okay at the outset here, and it's an ingredient of the typical showdown sort of scene that we see in Westerns and other films, are people looking through the windows rather timidly, wondering what will happen next. This has happened in so many films of this genre. This fire that is taking place in the background, it's a little bit of a distraction from all of that. There was this calm quiet before the storm, I think, and the reason why that was so is townspeople knew that this confrontation was perhaps coming. Perhaps it was imminent. One of the things that I believe is not mentioned in this scene of Tombstone is that a number of townspeople heard Morgan Earp say to Doc Holliday, "Let him have it," as they were nearing the site of the Corral. That sort of dialogue is featured in the 1994 film Wyatt Earp, but it is omitted from this one. And it's rather important because it shows us intent. It shows us purpose. What are these individuals? What do they really have in mind as they are walking down this street? It's an important point. Something else we can do is we can break down all the wounds that happen here in this relatively short amount of time. Among them, we have Virgil Earp being wounded in the leg. We have Morgan Earp being wounded in the shoulder. We have Billy Clanton, who was in reality wounded in both the wrist and the stomach. There is Tom McClowry, who gets a load full of buckshot from Doc Holliday's scattergun that he has. Didn't turn out too well for him. Something that is omitted from this film is the fact that Doc Holliday was actually wounded in the leg. He was grazed in the hip, and at first he thought that a bullet actually went clean through his hip, but he was mistaken. And so he was wounded. We don't get a sense of that in the film. It lends itself to this idea of perhaps invincibility while he's standing alongside Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp, of course, is pretty much the only person who comes out unscathed, although he had multiple bullet holes through the long black jacket that he was wearing. There have been so many cinematic representations of the gunfight at the OK Corral, and we could do a whole in-depth, at-length documentary chronicling and comparing and contrasting all of them. But in reality, as we ponder the historical memory of the American West, it's instances like the gunfight at the OK Corral that are part and parcel of the American myth, our understanding of the so-called frontier, of the rugged cowboy and the gunslinger. And I suspect time and time again, maybe not always in cinematic depictions, but in documentaries, books, magazines, tourism. One can go visit Tombstone today and see daily reenactments of this fight that took place in 1881. This story isn't going anywhere. One thing I would like to see, I'd like to see more movies about the American West, because for as much as the OK Corral has been covered, there are hundreds of more fascinating and wild instances of people who have been forgotten or omitted from many of the history books and especially movies about the West that I think are worth examining. So, what do you think is the best Western gunfight shown in a movie? What's the most accurate? What's the most lively? What's the most entertaining? We want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Furthermore, as we ponder what Westerns we might be examining in their entirety, we'd like to hear your suggestions on that front as well. So thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Real History. And you'll be a daisy if you do.
You're a daisy if you do.